Good morning, everyone. Good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Desamos, and you're welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empaths free. If you are new, on this channel I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-growth. And if any of that resonates with you, I invite you guys to join us. Give us a like, share the video with friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. In today's video, I'm going to talk about generational curses. So I got a comment from a subscriber, and they wanted to know, how do you know what are the telltale signs that you are or you have actually broken a generational curse? Now, when you talk about generational curses, we're talking about ancestral cycles, ancestral trauma. We're talking about those things that have held particular members of the family as captives, as slaves. So these are spiritual patterns whereby most of the times you have got certain things happening in a family, and very few of them, family members, do not understand what exactly is going on. Now, as you see, I've told you continuously and repeatedly, in those families, there is particular members in those families called the black sheep. So this video is basically going to relate to all the black sheeps out there in the entire universe. And I'll begin this video by letting you know that you are going to become the first millionaire in your family. So you are going to break patterns whereby you're the only person, first of all, who is going to get out of those paradigms and walk ahead towards your success. Most of the cases, you're going to achieve a high level and a high degree of success. But you see, there's levels to this. So before you achieve this amount of success, you need first of all to understand and to awaken to the truth of what is going on in your family. You see, a lot of these patterns are spiritual patterns. So these are things that are eating up those entire family units behind closed doors. They are secretly eating up family members, and very few of those family members can actually see what exactly is happening in those units. But as a black sheep, from a very young age, you've been aware of this. Why? Because it has been part of your destiny. It has been part of your, it has been the route you have decided prior to reincarnation into this planet. You have chosen that route to get into those families and intercept these particular spiritual patterns. So these are things that are adopted or have been adopted within bloodlines, and we're talking about generations of years. Now, as a black sheep, you will be aware of these things at an early age. You may sometimes try to mention a thing or two. You may sometimes be ignored. You may sometimes be punished. But you have got to understand, as a black sheep, the role you're playing in those families are spiritual roles in those families. You may sometimes see your journey as very difficult and almost impossible, but I can guarantee you something: behind closed doors, the universe is working alongside with you. The universe has got your back, and whatever it is you see going on within that family or in your own life, in those families, it is all going to come to pass. And that one day you will look back in time and you realize you having been placed in those families was part of your destiny. It was part of your mission for you to make an impact, not only in those families, but also to the people that are around you. Now, how do you really tell that you are breaking, or you have broken a generational curse? Now, to be very specific, I came with my list. I've been trying to reflect back and look back in time along my journey, and I've discovered a few things that I'm going to share with you guys in this video. As a curse breaker, as a black sheep, you're a chosen one. So you coming into those families and intercepting those patterns and breaking those patterns, you are also rewarded by the universe. So you're rewarded by God, because at the end of your journey, you're going to realize you're going to achieve that amount of success nobody in your family has ever achieved, and you're going to be able to do things that nobody in those families has ever done. What do I mean by this? You're going to travel the world, you're going to achieve success, you're going to do things, you're going to step your foot in places that nobody in your entire family and units has ever stepped. So by this, what I mean is that you're actually going to become the most successful, the first, number one, and secondly, the most successful individual in those families. Things may seem a little bit shady. You may not really see it in the beginning. You may think things are not going your way. But behind closed doors, each and every footstep that you make along your journey, it is being it is being guided by the divine. Now, sign number one, that you are breaking or have actually broken a generational curse, is when you first of all awaken to the truth. Now, you have over the years, of course, known and felt on a deep level there is something wrong with those families. But this time, it is different because now your bulbs have turned on and you've awakened to the truth. Eventually, your eyes are open. What usually happens is that normally when you're awakening to this truth of what has been happening in those families, I will not go into the details of these patterns, but you already know what exactly has been faced by your family. You know the troubles that they've been going through, the traumas that they've been dealing with. But this time you're really awakening. You are snapping out of that bubble. And now you finally realizing that, oh, actually, this is exactly what is going on. You are understanding this truth, the details, each and every single detail in that family that has been happening. You are finally coming to that acceptance that this has been what has been happening. So you are going through a very massive spiritual awakening. Now, the reason of that spiritual awakening is because God has chosen you to snap out of it. Probably you have spent a very long time in those families, and now God is tapping you by the forehead, and you're waking up, and you're understanding what exactly has been happening. So the first thing what you do, you go through a massive spiritual awakening. Now this is going to be a very big shock to you. It is going to shake your entire system. For the most of you guys who have seen my videos about spiritual awakening, you can go back. I've made a video about my own journey of spiritual awakening, what exactly happened in those days. Now, as soon as you awaken to the truth and the reality of what has been going on, what is usually going to happen is that now you are realizing that for you to be able to go to your next step, or for you to be able to achieve your next steps in life, you're unplugging out of those family units. Which brings us to number two. What is going to happen now is that you are going to step out of that unit. The reason why you're stepping out of that unit is because you're choosing to protect yourself. You're understanding that these things, if you do not first of all step out of those units, that cycle is going to carry on and on and on and on. And most of the times, it is also going to affect your future decisions and the direction that you decide to take in life. So what you're doing as number two, you're stepping out of that unit. You may sometimes do it quietly. Sometimes you may let it be known to the people who are at the top, especially we're talking about these kind of narcissistic parents, because remember again, guys, we're talking about dysfunctional families. So a lot of these ancestral patterns and trauma, they're usually going on within dysfunctional families. So those are the families that are operating under all forms of toxicity, whether they are being run by a narcissist, a psychopath, a sociopath, a narcopath, or whichever way, shape or form, toxicity involved in those families. So what happens is that now you're allowing yourself to step out of those units. And you're doing this unapologetically. You are understanding that this is for your own good. Number one, you've been the black sheep in your family. You've understood all this pain that you've been going through, all this trauma that you've endured in those families, and now you're deciding to choose yourself for the very first time in your entire life. You're choosing yourself, and you're eliminating yourself, and you're getting out, and you're unplugging out of those family units, so that now you can get out of those family units and carry on to go on your healing journey, which journey is going to drive you to become the highest version of yourself. So you have unplugged out of those families for good. Sometimes it's happening for good. It may rarely happen that you will come back to those families, but as a curse breaker, you're stepping out those families for good, and you're going to start living your life outside of that entire family unit. The third one that is happening is that for you to be able to understand that you're a curse breaker, a generational curse breaker in those entire family units, is that now you have finally realized all the noise that you've been hearing going in left and right through your ears. And what is happening is that now you know that there's been a lot of negativity pushed and pumped towards your way. Now what you're doing as a black sheep, you're starting to speak positivity into your mind. Of course, in those days, I remember waking up and I was like, I awakened to the truth first of all. Then I realized that, oh, okay, I've been hearing a lot of information very many times ago. I've been hearing a lot of voices in my head. You're stupid. You'll never do this. You'll never do that. You'll never count to anything. So I used to hear those things. In most of the cases at my early age, I would sometimes believe and accept those things as my own and accept them to be true. But now I've awakened and I realized that all those things were just things that were meant to dim my light. Because I've told you guys, when you're dealing with spiritual patterns, a lot of times these people in those families, they can almost sense and feel your light. They can know, they usually know that there's that light within you that is trying to shine out to the world. And sometimes they are suppressing your voice and you'll never be heard in some kind of a way. So what you're doing now, you're pumping a lot of positivity into your mind. You're speaking positively into your to yourself. Personally, I've used a lot of affirmations. I've refused to accept in my life that I'm a failure. They always made me to believe. So what I did, first of all, I started speaking positivity into my mind. Because now, remember, you're going through a process called reprogramming your subconscious mind. Because you've understood that all these blockages that have been stopping you from growth have been some kind of a secretly reprogramming your subconscious mind. Now what you're doing is that now you're getting those programs out of your head. So me personally, I was using affirmations. I would wake up every day and play a couple of affirmations to myself, positive affirmations, so that my mind, my brain, would now start programming positive things into my head, and I would never be a victim again of such toxicity and negativity that usually was projected towards me. So, as a black sheep in your family, what you're doing now is you are starting to reprogram your subconscious mind, and you speak positivity. Each and everything good in this universe, you are speaking it into your mind, and now you're starting to reprogram your subconscious mind out of those old paradigms and old programmings, and you're accepting yourself to believe these programs that they are yours for the very first time in your life. Because everything starts with the subconscious. For you to be able to achieve success, you are first of all going to reprogram your subconscious mind and get those old programmings that have been put into your head by schools, by teachers, by parents, by religious leaders, by family members. You're removing all those things out of your mind, and you're shining and you're pushing out, trying to shine to become the highest version of yourself. Number 4, for you to know that you're actually breaking out of those paradigms and breaking generational curses is now, what you do now is that you're going through a very intensive healing process. In this same place where I'm standing today, it has been a very big role. This park, this beautiful place you see around me, has played a very big role in my healing journey. So when I discovered all these traumas that have been happening, of course, along my journey, I decided to choose my healing spot. So number 1, as you've moved out of your family units, you're going to find a comfort zone. Well, a place that you're going to call home, and a place that you're going to feel extremely comfortable for the very first time. So what you're doing now, you're going through a very long healing process. You're understanding this trauma that has been generated for years onto your life, and now you started to heal that trauma. A lot of you guys can decide to go through therapy. You may sometimes choose your favorite therapy in town, in that city, or a lot of you guys sometimes you may decide to do this alone. Me, myself, personally, I have done and I've gone through my healing process by myself. So I've not had any external help, because in those days I had trust issues. So I didn't used to trust people. I really thought I could not easily trust people. After all, after enduring all that trauma, I believed at some point that I may sometimes run into another toxic individual, and sometimes they would continue programming me in that negative way. Because of course you guys already know, as a black sheep, you are a chosen one. And chosen ones, you already know that you are targeted individuals. So sometimes you do not want to give your power to some particular individuals, especially doctors, therapists, maybe psychologists, because sometimes we already know a lot of these therapists, they themselves are the problem. And sometimes when you go around there to visit them, I do not say all of them, quote me right in this video, I do not say all of them, but there are many of them out there who are also part of the problem. So they are part of the toxicity. Most of the times you go and visit those kind of individuals, and you also realize they will know you're trying to break out of a certain pattern, and sometimes what they are doing, they are slowing your healing process, and they are putting you back into those programs. What do I mean by this? They are putting you back to sleep. So you are healing your trauma. By healing trauma, there are so many things you will do usually as a chosen one. because you already know the meaning of your frequency. You know the importance of your frequency. So what you first do, most of the times when you're healing trauma, you're recognizing all the trauma that you've endured in those families. And now what you're doing, you're participating in the process to raise your vibration in whichever way, shape, or form. I've told you guys in this park where I'm standing, that's where a lot of my healing has happened. Until today, I still come around here because I still remember those early days 3 years ago when I embarked on this healing journey. I still come here and I still remember, and I still sometimes do a lot of those spiritual practices that have helped me along my journey to become the highest version of myself and eventually the person that I am today. So you are healing trauma. Of course, I've told you, you may choose to go to a therapist. Sometimes you may do it by yourself. If you're a strong individual, you're strong-minded, you're independent, you will sometimes decide to do it by yourself. You don't want anybody to interrupt your healing process. You're refusing anyone to come into your life and interrupt the healing process that you're starting to go through as a black sheep. That is how you know that actually you're moving towards breaking those kind of generational cycles and patterns. So the 5 I'll talk about is as a black sheep, as you're healing trauma, generational trauma we're talking about, you're also getting exposed, and eventually there are some doors opening for you, and you have eventually found your purpose. You may not really have found fully what it is you want to do with your life, but eventually you're noticing that there is a direction that you're being pushed towards a certain direction because you believe on a very spiritual and subconscious level. You believe that if you follow that path is going to generate for you a massive amount of success. It is going to put you out there to the entire world. People are going to want to listen to your story. People are going to want to listen to you. People are going to divert their attention to you. People are going to try to hear what it is you have got to say, because on that journey as well, a journey of spiritual growth, you are also helping other individuals heal, because you have first of all healed yourself, and now you're putting yourself out there. You're trying to heal other individuals around you. And again, not everybody has got to do what I'm doing. A lot of people may decide to help other individuals through writings, poetry, music, dance, any form of art or whatever it is. But whatever it is that you do, you're going to notice it is your own unique craft. And there's nobody around you that is doing exactly those things that you're doing. So it is a step for you to understand, by you embarking on this kind of spiritual journey, that form of spiritual journey, that you are actually moving out of all paradigms. And now it is a sign that you're breaking those kind of patterns. And I've told you guys, this thing is a process. You're supposed to know that you need to be patient with yourself. You need to understand that all these things take time. You do not rush your healing process. I've had many cases on my videos. People are saying, oh, what is this? How long does this thing take? And everything, because it looks as if people are going through some kind of unending cycle. That cycle will stop. I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, I've been there. It's 3 years down the road, and I'm still walking that path. The next one I'm going to talk about is as you're moving towards the greatest version of yourself, you have finally discovered your purpose, you have stepped into your purpose, you become unstoppable. Now, you're looking back in time in a couple of years. It could take months, it could take years, depending on what journey you've decided to take. But now you're starting to look back in time, and you're looking around your family members, you're realizing and you're noticing these family members, you're seeing a change within them. Because I've told you guys in my videos that the black sheep, once you leave those entire units, you also experience a very massive, you shake up the whole entire foundation of that family. So a lot of times you're going to cause a lot of chaos in those families. Now that chaos is designed, remember that you're breaking spiritual patterns. So you unplugging out of those families, you are also going to cause a lot of chaos and drama in those families. So that chaos is supposed to start bringing out a lot of toxic individuals and bringing them out to the surface. So you're going to see a lot of family members who have been hiding behind closed doors, feeding off of your energy over the years. You'll see them as actually sometimes coming out and playing out in front of you. You'll be able to understand these individuals for who they are. You'll be able to see them for the very first time for who they really are. Now you're shaking out the whole foundation of that family. And you see somewhere down the road along your journey, you're going to start realizing that there are changes that started to happen. These changes may be little, may be small, sometimes you may not even recognize them, but you're going to see your fathers you've left behind, your mothers you left behind, your family members, sometimes your brothers, your sisters, maybe your friends. You're going to notice their life has started to shift. Because I've told you guys, when you're breaking generational cycles, you cause an entire paradigm shift in your entire family. You go through a massive awakening and you cause a very massive shift in that family. Now you're going to see a lot of family members. You may sometimes hear that some of them have started to got a new job. You may sometimes hear that there are some family members who used to be struggling with a certain type of a disease. You're going to look back in those family units and you're going to see them healing within their lives has started to happen. So I want you to listen to this one very closely, chosen ones and black sheep in those families. When you get out, you step out of those units, you unplug your energy and your supply cables and your supply chains from those families. You cause a very massive paradigm shift in those families. There'll be a lot of chaos. People are going to fight amongst each other. Sometimes people may even want to kill each other, but this is because you are a chosen one and you have unplugged the light out of those units. And this chaos is supposed to happen purposely because it is through that chaos that peace and freedom is going to be restored in those entire family units. So the point where we will know that actually you're breaking out of those cycles and you're healing and actually you're breaking generational trauma in those families is when now you've started to see these positive changes. You may not necessarily be involved in those family units. You may sometimes hear it from the neighbors. They may sometimes tell you, oh, you know what? There was a relative so-and-so, they was sick in the hospital, but all of a sudden they have been discharged from hospital. Or you may sometimes see, for the very first time, you may hear there is a member of yours, of your family, or your own family unit. They may have been struggling with getting pregnant. Simple things like getting pregnant. You may hear all of a sudden they are like, oh, you know what? All of a sudden, after so many years, so-and-so has gotten pregnant and they're expecting a baby. It could be a person who has been dealing with diseases. All of a sudden, you're going to start hearing behind closed doors that there are people actually, they are experiencing healing in that family. It is a sign that you've started breaking that generational trauma and curses. Most of the times I've told you guys, you cannot walk in the black sheep shoes. You cannot walk in the chosen one shoes. Those individuals, they have walked it all, they have seen it all, they have endured a lot. And that is because there are some patterns they have been facing in their lives. The moment they start to break out of those patterns, that is exactly when they're able to break out of that bubble and shine their light brighter out into the universe and change entire paradigms and heal other individuals, all help healing with other individuals along their journey. Now, not only are you noticing the change that is going on within your family members, you're also deciding to create your own path. Now, as you're creating your own path along your journey, chosen ones, you're also going to realize that you're starting to see the results. So you may have decided to say, okay, so now that I'm out of my family, you're out of your family unit, of course, eventually you've decided to follow your own path. You started to realize that eventually the universe is starting to reward you. They may sometimes start bit by bit. You may have started writing a book. A person is going to offer you, come on, I will help you to publish your book. I will sponsor your book. Or sometimes, they may sometimes little subtle signs like that. They may come in a way that you don't really understand. But you have got to pay very close attention, chosen ones. The moment you start to experience little by little, these small results along the journey, you're supposed to know that you've started breaking that curse. So when you see them, you have got to know that there's work being done behind the scenes by the universe, by God, to move you towards a better place in life and move you closer to your goals. Now, the last one I'll give you, there may be many of them I can talk about, but the last one I'm going to talk about in this video is... Actually, we can talk about the second last one I'm going to talk about now, is when you have decided that you're no longer a slave to your past. You have chosen you. You're choosing you for the very first time. You're no longer a slave. Anybody is coming around in those units and they're telling you a lot of BS, a lot of this, a lot of that. You are no longer obliging to their conditions and their mentality. So you are refusing to be a slave to your past. You have put your foot down. You have refused to participate in those kind of units. Either they are going to change, or you have decided that you are going to step out permanently out of those units. So you're no longer a slave. You've worked on yourself. You've identified where the problems have always been. You are keeping on, and you've always kept on working on those particular things, and you're becoming a highest version of yourself. So you're no longer falling victim, and no longer a slave to your past. The last one I can talk about in this video is when you have finally forgiven your abusers. Now, of course, I've told you guys, chosen ones, that you've been abused over the years. You've gone through tremendous amount of pain from your parents, but eventually at some point in time, you're looking back in years and you're realizing that actually the only way forward is forgiveness. So you're no longer feeling resentful to your abusers. You're forgiving them because now you understand that this had nothing to do with them personally. Yes, they were used as vessels to cause a certain degree of a certain amount of harm to you towards your way, but you're forgiven your abusers, and you're realizing that, okay, that was your journey, it was part of the process. So you have forgiven them. Not only have you forgiven them, you have also released them and you've let them go. That is because you have got something in you initially that is telling you there's nothing that's going to stop you. Not your abusers are going to come around, and not anymore are they going to come around and keep on telling you and pointing directions towards you of where it is you want to go. You have refused that, but at the same time you have also forgiven them, so you're no longer fighting back. You have released that energy, because I've told you guys, chosen ones, you're very much aware about your own personal energy. You're very protective of your energy and who it is you want to bring into your life. But you're no longer resenting and looking back and trying to fight people, trying to revenge and all these kind of things. You're releasing everything, because you understand at the point, the more you heal these traumas and everything, is the more it is also going to spread on within your family units. And some of them, because they are connected to you by blood, they are also going to experience a certain degree of healing. So of course, guys, as you already know, if you're a curse breaker out there, I will allow you and I will invite you to drop us a comment in the section below. Let us know what has been your journey, or what it is your journey at the current moment. And until then, it's been a blessing to have you guys on board. You already know that I love and appreciate your support. You might always book a session with me if you want to, guys. All the links you need, you'll find them in the description section below. And if you're out there and you always want to support my channel, you may always look out in the section below. You'll find my Cashapp and PayPal. You can always send in your support. It is not usually expected, but it is always appreciated in whichever way, shape or form. And until then, I'll catch you guys in my next one. Much love and blessings. Like the video, share and subscribe. And until then, blessings. Peace.